What a bad luck I have. My patients are always dying. This was the line that Joan Vila Dilmé, caretaker at the La Caritat Foundation nursing home in Olot, Spain, kept saying to his colleagues. What no one realized was that this misfortune concealed a much, much darker reality. Today, I want to tell you about one of the most shocking cases in Spanish history. Is the story of a caretaker who was supposed to protect the most vulnerable, but instead became one of the most ruthless criminals. I am talking now about Juan Vila Dilmé, also known as take, the caretaker of Olot. Now, let's not rush to any judgment before we fully step into the whole story, because I'm telling you, this story has so many gruesome details, and everything will just make us wonder, how is it possible that such atrocities can actually take place for such a long time without being seen or discovered or without raising an eyebrow to somebody. So, who was Juan Vila Dilme? He was born on September 26, 1965, in Castellfolli de la Roca, which is a small town in Catalonia in Spain. Through his life, he was just an insecure person. He always avoided social interactions. He had some health problems, such as hand tremors. Yeah, his hands were constantly shaking, and also he was a case of severe acne. Now, it seems that also he was extremely confused about his own sexuality, and this also just added some more to his personal insecurities. It seems that after his arrest, he actually said he always felt like a woman trapped in a man's body. He started and had like various types of occupations and jobs during his life, including opening a hairdressing salon, a small restaurant that was called Casino de Peralada. It seems that he took classes in cooking, tailoring, and also reflexology, but he failed to just set on in a particular field of anything. So it looks like he was fascinated by death, and he lacked completely empathy, yeah, towards his victims or towards human life or towards the people around him. But unfortunately, he learned how to live a day by day life just by showing off a mask. Now, despite the severe hand shaking problem he had, somehow he managed to attend medical school, and he became a nurse. Yeah, this leading for him into getting a job as a medical assistant, as a nurse at the Fundació La Caritat nursing home in Olot in 2006. Now, some places where I studied this case says 2006, some of them says 2009. This will be a little bit interesting as we go more further along the case. In the end of the case, actually, it will be very interesting if it was 2006 or 2009. So far, I am not yet convinced that it was 2006, although, like I said, some papers that I've read said this. Now it seems that the employers from the nursing home just did not, just may have overlooked the problems that he seemed to have because of the shortage of qualified staff. So he was always displaying like a caring image towards his patients, which allowed him for so long, unfortunately, to avoid suspicion and, even more unfortunate, to gain the trust of his colleagues and from the victims' families. You may wonder now how all this started. Well, his first known victim was in August 2009. He chose one of the most vulnerable people in that nursing home, a woman who was at that time in a very fragile state, had no close family, so that meant nobody was just regularly visiting her. His method at that time was very, very discreet. He just gave her a mixture of barbiturates, and of course her death went on by being considered a natural death. His balls, yeah, just got bigger with each murder that got uncovered. So of course, over the next few months, he committed a series of murders on his patients, and the victims that he was choosing were mostly women between the ages of 80 and 96. As I was saying, he was using different types of methods, yeah, ranging from administrating them a mixture of barbiturates, drugs dissolved into water, or just giving them a shot, an intravenous injection, yeah, with a really high dosage of insulin. This was being done particularly in the case of diabetic patients that he had. In his latest crimes, he became more bold, like I was saying, and he started to use brutal methods, forcing his victims to swallow bleach or injecting corrosive substances directly into their mouths. And this, of course, was causing so much pain and suffering. Now, on October 17, 2010, Juan Vila committed what thankfully would be his last murder. The last victim was Paquita Girones Quintana, an elderly widow that was suffering of dementia. This was supposed to be just another natural death, yeah, in a series of apparent, obvious natural death, yeah, in the nursing home, taking place in the nursing home. And it seems that Villa was in the room when she died, standing next to the doctor that was supposed to sign the death certificate. And the doctor, it seems that the doctor wanted to try to do something, helping the woman or something like this. And then Villa just told the doctor, well, um, don't do anything, just let her die in peace. But fortunately, the doctor saw a black spot into her tongue, on her tongue, and in that moment, he realized this is not normal. This is not something um, normal. So he ordered an autopsy after she passed away, and of course, the results were shocking. It was discovered that Paquita had died from extreme severe burns to her airways, esophagus, and oral cavities caused by ingesting a chemical product used to unclog the airways. Now, as you can realize, her death was really bad, yeah, was gruesome, and all this was just accompanied by a very, very bad sufferance on her. Anyway, given that the victim could not get access to such chemical products, yeah, the case was quickly classified as a homicide, and Of course, the police entered and the investigation began. And it was called for Catalan police, which is called Mossos Esquadra, and they launched their investigation. They started to question all the 20 people that were working in that nursing home. And it seems that Vila was interrogated much longer time than all his colleagues, because the death of Paquita happened while he was um, caring for her bedroom in that night. Uh, ironically, his colleagues actually pitied on him, because they said, "Oh, it's so bad. It could have been any of us, and he's just a victim of circumstances." What nobody knew at the time, including Villa, was that the police already had confiscated all 28 tapes from the security cameras. And in one of these tapes, they actually saw Villa in the night of Paquita's death, how he was entering into the cleaning storage room at 8:43 p.m. in the evening, yeah, and he was then seen how he left with a chemical product that he took from there. He just headed straight to Paquita's room, entered, stayed about 5 minutes, and then he was seen how he left the room, went to the bathroom, and then he just went on to relax in the nurse's room. Of course, they confronted him with this evidence, and he just broke down and confessed that yes, he gave her the chemical using a syringe. I mean, gruesome much. So he had always one justification, and he dared to say to the police that I wanted to put her out of her misery. He used the same gentle voice, full of empathy, yeah, that he used to manipulate his co-workers and the victims' families. Of course, after this case got public, yeah, you can imagine that it was all over. It got a huge, huge, huge um, impact. Yeah, the relative of other people that died there began asking questions about the natural death, yeah, in the nursing home, which is actually quite natural and normal to do for any of us, I suppose. And one of the relatives, Sabina Masloren's niece, she reported that the funeral home employee that they used to bury their aunt told her about the fact that the deceased had a lot of bruises on the face, which were extremely extremely hard, and they could not even cover those bruises even with makeup. In addition, like a small detail, Villa had attended that funeral, and he had written in the funeral register how grateful the family was and how thankful was the family to him for all the care, the good care he had provided for their relative. Yeah. Anyhow, when the police questioned Villa about the death of Sabina Mas-Lorenz, he confessed to a new crime this time, and he said that she was in her room alone, half asleep. I administered bleach with a syringe. She said nothing. She seemed to be suffocating. Then I called the nurse Dolores Garcia, who said she must have suffered internal bleeding. It wasn't long before she died. These were his words. During this, while he was interrogated by the police, Villa confessed to another murder. So that was the third murder that he was confessing. while in police custody, and he said that he also killed Montserrat Guillaume 4 days after Sabina Mas-Lawrence and the day before Paquita Girones. Now it's unbelievable that it's like almost he had like a schedule, you know, he was going to work just to see who he's gonna kill tonight. It's mind-blowing when you think, yeah. And about Montserrat, he said that I gave her to drink bleach from a plastic cup. I had to help her because she couldn't. And then I told her, you'll see, you'll feel better now. I thought I was helping her um, by taking her life because she'd lost her mind and she was vomiting and her body was stiff. I felt so sorry for her. She started to cough. She coughed a lot and she looked nauseous and she seemed to want to vomit. Then I left and went into the dining room to distribute dinner to the other elderly people. He confessed. Nothing to say. By then, you know, already the press had already baptized him the caretaker of Olot. And of course, the judge that was overseeing this case ordered a review of all the deaths that happened into this nursing house from August 29. This is why I said in the start that 2006 with 2009 can be important, because when he would have really started to work there from 2006 in these conditions, can maybe can also be more deaths between, you know, in these 3 years from 2006 to 2009. But because all the papers I've read about this said that the judge actually um, wanted to document and to check only the deaths from the people starting August 2009. Can be that was the moment when he got the job, because I really don't think that the judge would have been so stupid, yeah, not to think that he could actually started to kill before 2009. Anyhow, out of a list of 59 deaths that took place into this nursing home in all this time, 27 of them occurred while he was on duty. Yeah, happened in his shifts. From those, 8 cases of death were highly suspicious, and then they decided to exhume all the bodies just in order to make an autopsy. Vila actually confessed of killing 6 of these, and he claimed two more murders that happened in 2009 as well. In the end, he ended up in court being accused of killing 11 people, yeah, from that nursing house, all of them being women over 80 years of age. In order to kill them, like I was saying, Vila was using high dosage of insulin, pills, bleach, and other chemical substances used in cleaning, yeah, that he was forcing his victims to ingest. Maybe if somebody at one point would have decided or think about making an autopsy to somebody that died, you know, maybe they could have just catch him before all this disaster happened. And yeah, I mean, he got to kill way too many people. His trial began in 27 of May 2013, at the provincial court of Girona. When it came the turn for him to testify, he admitted to the 11 murders without showing the slightest sign of regret or remorse or anything. He claims that he did not wanted to hurt the old woman, that he was actually suffering for them, and that he got a lot of comfort by seeing them dead. Prosecutors just argued that Villa chose the times when the nursing home staff was short, when there were not so many, people working there, and preyed on the vulnerability of the victims who were alone, old women, and alone and defenseless. This trial got just a huge media coverage, lasted only 2 weeks, and it involved more than 120 witnesses, including co-workers, family members, legal experts, and everything. His defender, Carles Monguiot, requested a psychiatric evaluation, and thankfully, all the experts concluded that Villa did not suffer from any mental disorder that would make him irresponsible for his actions, but he was proven to be addictive, avoidant, depressive, and having some schizoid traits. On June 21, 2013, a jury consisting created from 5 men and 4 women sentenced Juan Villa, age 47 at the time, to 127 and a half years in prison for the murder of the 11 people that they could prove, with the aggravating circumstances of treason and cruelty. Now, unfortunately, under the Spanish law, Villa will only have to serve 40 years of effective imprisonment. Until now, he has spent more than a decade in a prison called Puig de las Bases Penitentiary Center in Girona, and such an irony, there he's considered one of the most well-behaved prisoners, and he's spending his time working in the laundry or reading a lot of books in the library. He is an extremely polite, respectful, and polite person. He is very kind to me and to everyone, said his lawyer, who still visits him regularly. Yeah, it's unbelievable that he was an individual with an extremely low self-esteem. He had a lot of insecurities starting his teenage years, um, but still all these physical problems could not be a justification for the sick mind that he showed later on. No matter how isolated, no matter how anxious, no matter how insecure he could feel, also they found out that he was alcohol addictive. Also, he was taking pills, and he had some food disorder problems, yeah, some eating disorder problems. Still, all this never can be an answer or an explanation um, to his acts. It simply cannot be. He had two faces. He was always presenting himself, like a devoted, empathetic caregiver, yeah, and all his colleagues said that sometimes he was a little bit theatrical in all his manifestations of him, and on the other hand, behind everybody's back, yeah, he was killing people. I have a very I still don't can understand how he could hide these murders for so long, and how nobody saw something or think that something can be wrong, or I don't know. It's a little bit maybe you don't know, until you are actually in a position of having somebody, God forbid, but if you are not a coworker, or I don't know, family, relative from a victim or this, maybe you don't can actually understand exactly, but still I find it very difficult to understand how come absolutely nobody out of all those people could see something. This it's still a mystery to me. I do wonder, though, how many other Joan Villa still exists out there, and how can we learn to recognize the signs that should warn us? I mean, how can this be possible? I'm really, really curious about what do you think, and if I'm really also curious if you do think that this type of crimes can be prevented, or does our trust, in those who care for others, sometimes it just blinds us away from the reality. What is it that do you think about this? I'm really curious about it, and I'm still trying in my brain to find my own answers. This is why would be interesting to read yours, and of course write a comment, and let me know what is it that do you think. Very, very curious to hear your thoughts about this extremely chilling case, in my opinion. Well, that was all for today, folks, and I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate the fact that you are listening to me and joining me for another story here. Uh, I am Cataleya, and until the next time, please be safe, you and all your loved ones, and will hear us next time. Thank you so much again for your time.